Hello, this is Faith Whitridge, and today I'm doing a history project telling a little bit about the history of my hometown, Syracuse, Indiana. I hope you enjoy the video. So the place where I received most of my information is from the Syracuse Wawasee Historical Museum, which is where I got most of my history facts as well as the pictures. I also received some of the pictures from their digital archives, which is still part of the museum. In this picture, we see some of the earliest inhabitants known in Syracuse. They were called the Mound Builders. The reason they had this name is because they buried their dead with some of their personal possessions on top of each other to make a mound-like shape, as you see. And in this picture, this is some of the reason why they were able to survive and thrive along with past and future Indian tribes is because of the bountiful game and water and just all the resources they would need to stay alive during these time periods. As you see, you can see some wild game, some water that they could have used to drink or to take baths, the firewood and wood that they would have needed to make teepees. They could also use wild game fur to make clothing and things like that. The next inhabitants we'll be talking about is the Miami Indians, and as you see in this picture is Chief Papakecha, or Flatbelly. He was one of the main Miami chiefs. He also had a younger brother, Chief Wawasee, who was not as high in ranks as he was, but was still pretty up there. In this picture is shown some tools that they may have used to hunt the wild game that they could have made out of stone and wood. They could have used this to make the teepees, to cut down trees for any reasons that they would have needed, and to just protect themselves against anything that could have happened. And in this picture we see a map of pretty much all of Syracuse, which is the inhabitants of the area of where the Miami Indians were, and mainly Chief Papakecha in this general picture. In the next slide, we see some more tools that the Indians may have used to stay alive. They could have used for drills, knives, arrows. There are many different uses for each different type of arrowhead, and these were found all over Syracuse in the past years since the Indians have left. And in this picture, we see Chief Wawasee's area of land, which is not as big as his brother's. Again, he was not as big as his brother and as high in rank, so he didn't get as much land. But this is still a pretty good size. This is also not in Syracuse, but in a surrounding town. In this picture, we see Papakecha's Reserve. You are now leaving Papakecha's Reservation, 36 square miles. This Miami chief, also known as Flatbelly, held this land from 1828 to 1834. When it was returned to the national government, it was later owned by the Wabash and Erie Canal. In this picture, you see a picture of me and a tribute or a statue to Chief Flatbelly, which was also taken at the museum that I got my pictures and information from. It was pretty cool to be there. In this next picture, we see Chief Flatbelly of the Papakecha Miami Indians, who died between 1838 and 1840. This is kind of just a tribute or a symbolic picture for him since he did die in between those time areas, and I thought I'd add it. In this next picture, we see a memorial to Henry Ward. Henry Ward and Samuel Crossan named and plated Syracuse in 1837. There are dedications and parks to these two men all over the place in Syracuse, and they were pretty influential in this town. Here we see a picture of the B&O Railroad, which came in about 1837, and as the railroad came, by 1874, the railroad's arrival resulted in problems of rowdiness and excessive drinking of alcoholic beverages. It also resulted in Huntington Street, as you see here, becoming the main highway and the main drag, as you call it, through Syracuse, which brought more business and more tourism and supplies to this area. In these pictures, you see some of the businesses that were starting to grow, some just mom and pop shops, some little neighborhood grocery stores, blacksmiths, all the businesses that a small town in this time period would have had. And as a result, of the railroad, these businesses started to grow and become larger. In February of 1882, the railroad was shipping 12 to 15 carloads of ice per day from the lakes. In this picture, we see some people harvesting the ice that they would have shipped to different communities or used in their own for many different reasons and varieties. In the early 1900s, Syracuse was a bustling industrial community. Hundreds of people made cement boats, tables, radiators, furniture, cedar chests, and gas engines. The population tripled from about 600 to 1800, with housing at a premium. This phenomenal growth from 1898 to about 1920 owes much to the Sandusky Portland Cement Company. That is what you see in this picture here, which is where most of the cement was made and sent to different places. During the time period from 1870 to 1920, Syracuse enjoyed an unprecedented economic boom, with things such as bakers, boarding houses, blacksmiths, shoe stores, and grocery stores. As you can see here, they were very proud to be a part of the community that they lived in. In this picture, we see the main station for the B&O Railroad, which was the main reason for the economic growth and the booming of the industries. With the coming of the railroad came more business, more supplies, and more people. In 1904, Francis Ott founded the Syracuse Boat Manufacturing Company. His boats were powered with gas and steam engines. This picture shows us a few boats that may have been made by his company and were out on the lake at this time period. In these next few pictures, we will see some of the industries or items that were affected or produced during this time period of economical growth. This is a post office, which was the smallest known post office in Syracuse at this time, but as you can tell, still very busy and growing. In this next picture, you see my sister and I standing next to the motor of the Harkless-Meyer automobile, which is in the museum that we received the information and pictures from. The 1906 Meyer car is the Syracuse Wawasee Historical Museum's centerpiece exhibit. Its prototype was designed and assembled in Syracuse by a local resident and mechanist, Sheldon Harkless. In 1905, Mr. Harkless sold the car's design rights to the Meyer Carriage Company of Ligonier. The company produced only about 10 to 20 of these cars in that time period, and this is one of the two known survivors of these automobiles. And here you can just see a better picture of what it looked like. In March of 1960, Syracuse gained some notoriety when its town's fire department burned to the ground along with all of the equipment. The Pickwick block burned down twice, once in 1946, as you see in this picture, and again in 1971, as you will see in the future. The Liberty Coach Company, one of the town's leading industries, burned in 1947. Only one man lost his life in all of these fires, which totaled to be more than $1 million in property damage. The first Pickwick fire, as you saw in the previous picture, was on February 7, 1946, and the loss was estimated at $400,000. The second Pickwick fire, as you see in this picture, was on January 2nd of 1971, and the loss was estimated to be about $300,000. The blaze was reported about 5 p.m. and spread quickly. In this picture, you see the modern Pickwick Theater, which has not suffered a fire since January 2nd of 1971. Even to this day, they play movies every night, and it is still going strong. In September of 1984, Barbara Lee Hulley, age 55, became the first person murdered in the 150-year history of Syracuse. Unfortunately, I could not get a picture of her, so I found a picture of the judge and the jury trying to decide whether or not her murderer was guilty. Here we see a water wagon. Water wagons were used by town employees to water down the dirt streets and settle the dust to keep it out of stores. Just like when the Dust Bowl happened, any sudden gusts of wind or sudden movements would stir up the dust and cause many troubles for the owners of Syracuse stores. Here we see some steamboats. Steamboats roamed Lake Wawasee in the late 1800s and early 1900s. These were the first mechanically powered tour boats on the lake. Even today, we have tour boats that bring many tourists from all around the world. Here we see some sailboats. Sailboats are another main tourist attraction. Many people like to rent them or even buy them to roam Lake Wawasee, look at the beautiful nature and beautiful landscapes and house that are all around this town. In this coming up picture, here we see the Lilly home. This is the Eli Lilly estate in 1910 to 1920. The Lillys were one of the first families to come to Lake Wawasee. Even today, the Lilly home is busy every single summer and has been passed down from generation to generation. Here, in this final picture on my slideshow, you see a couple of boats traveling from Lake Syracuse to Lake Wawasee, or vice versa. It's just a bunch of friends hanging out and enjoying their summer. That is truly what Lake Wawasee, Lake Syracuse, and the town of Syracuse is all about. Coming, enjoying times with friends and family, and learning a little bit about the history of this area. I hope you enjoyed my video and leave a little bit more knowledgeable than you were when you came. I thank you for watching, and I hope that you have a wonderful day.